Sharkie Gamer here. So as you guys have probably noticed, I haven't really done too many videos in quite some time, and that's just because I had some personal stuff that prevented me from doing some videos. So sorry about that, but now I am back, and I'll be trying to do videos on a more regular basis, and I'm going to be starting with this video. And in this video, we're going to take a look at the FragFX Shark. Now this is made by SplitFish for the PlayStation 3, PC, and Mac. So as you can see, it's in this large blister pack type packaging. Through the display window here, you can see it's got the Fragchuck and the mouse. On the bottom here, it just says FragFX Shark, #1 overall highest rated FPS controller for PS3 in the world. And it's got some other little bits and pieces here, which pretty much repeats the same thing. On the side, it's got the gamer here, obviously one of the pro gamers, and he says the FragFX Shark is by far the best controller for PlayStation 3, period. So that's all this guy's saying. Everything else is pretty standard. Up the top it just says wireless game controller. It's got the SplitFish logo that's actually on the mouse pad that's in the packaging. And of course it's especially designed for the PS3, PC and Mac. Over on the back of the box, at the top here it says package includes wireless mouse, wireless left-hand grip, Fragchuck, dongle, mousepad, and manual. One of the most easy to use and intuitive controllers ever designed, especially for the PS3, PC, and Mac. The FragFX Shark gives you the same PC-style gameplay on the PS3. Faster, more accurate, and easier to use than a standard PS3 controller. You can dynamically program the motion, swap buttons, use rapid fire, and adjust the dead zone, making the FragFX Shark a truly intelligent controller. Key features: 2 AA batteries not included, new 50 hours plus playtime, new 500 hour plus power save standby, mouse is 1750 DPI resolution, play with the mouse on PS3 as you would do on a PC, full PC and Mac support, either as a gamepad or mouse keyboard control. Fast access to special features, e.g. macro, rapid fire, button swap, stick swap, etc. Brand new wireless technology to 2.4 GHz. Plug and play, new dead zone adjustment wheel, 6-axis support. So that little area there is English, everything else is different languages. Down the bottom here, it does show some logos. There's a SplitFish logo. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up the box and have a closer look at the contents. Now, this is not the blister pack that you have to cut open. It just kind of pops open with these little areas here. So it does make it a little bit easier to get into, rather than having to try and cut it open with some scissors. Okay. So first out of the box, we've got the receiver here. Then is the Fragchuck. Then the mouse. And of course you've got a large mouse pad in here. And the manual. Okay, so let's take a look at the manual quickly first. So this comes in different languages, so it's quite a thick manual, and you think, oh, it's a lot of information, but it's just different languages. So on the first page, it just shows you sort of what button is what function, and it also shows it for not only PS3, but also PC Mac, so you can know exactly, depending on which mode you put it in, exactly what button does what. And on the following page, it's also got a whole lot of features of how you use all the extra, like button remapping, macros, stick swap, etc. And I'll get into that in just a moment. But it's got a lot of, this page is very useful when you're first starting to use this controller, just to learn how you actually use the extra functions. Okay, so let's start with the mouse mat. Now the mouse mat is fairly large. It's got like a soft kind of material on top of it, and of course it's got the SplitFish logo just there. It's actually set onto a hard plastic. And the plastic itself has these little grips underneath here as well, so that you have it on a surface, it's not going to easily move. Now it is hard plastic, and the reason they do it on hard plastic is that you can either put it on a surface like a desk or coffee table, whatever, or you can actually put it on your knee and actually use the mouse while it's on your knee in case you're in a living room or something like that. So that's why it's hard plastic. The only downside I find of this is not probably hard enough, because if you leave it sitting somewhere it can slightly warp. It's not completely solid, as you can see by when I'm bending there. But overall it does the job, and it's really smooth and really easy to use the mouse on. Next thing, the dongle. So this thing is what you plug into your PC or your PS3 or your Mac, depending on what system you want to use, to connect those to the system. So on the top it just says SplitFish FragFX Shark, and on the side it's got a gamepad and keyboard switch. Bottom it just says SplitFish, and on the back it's got two LEDs. So let me just explain quickly what the gamepad and the keyboard mode is. So for PS3, if you have it selected on gamepad and you plug this in, then basically it'll detect this basically mouse and Fragchuck as a gamepad. So the PS3 will know, okay, a gamepad's connected, you can use it for gaming. If you have it hooked to the keyboard side in the PS3 will detect it as sort of like a mouse and keyboard connected, which means you'll only be able to use it sort of in browser, internet chat, areas like that. You can't actually use it for gaming. So just make sure you have it on gamepad for PS3. Now PC or Mac is a bit different. If you have it on gamepad, both PC and Mac will detect it as a gamepad, like just a general gamepad, and install it as such. If you have it hooked on gamepad, if you have it hooked on keyboard, then basically what will happen is it'll detect this is a mouse and this is sort of like a part of a keyboard, and each button will be a different letter and stuff like that. So depending on how you want to use it, whether it be PC or PS3 or even Mac, then you can just select it on what mode you want it to actually detect as. Now when you first plug this in, these things will light up when you turn those two controllers on, and it'll detect the Fragchuck and the mouse. So if both of them lit up, then it's detecting both the actual pieces and you're ready to go. So little device, very easy kind of swap on there, little switch that just swaps between those modes. Okay, so let's take a look at the Fragchuck. So the Fragchuck is basically your left-handed controller, where you hold it in your left hand, use it for your movement, and it's basically just like a half a controller really. So your stick is normal, you can use that for movement or walking around depending on what game you're playing. It also clicks down for L3. On the top you've got your select button down here, you've got a D-pad, you've got a PS button, and in the front here you've got your frag button, L1 and L2. On the side you've got your on-off switch. Now that will turn the controller on or off. Just remember to always turn it off when you're not using it to save on your battery time. And you've got a dead zone wheel right there. Now I'll get to explain the dead zone wheel in a moment. Also on the D-pad you've also got different functions. It says stick swap, macro, button remapping and rapid fire. But again, I'll get to those in a moment. On the bottom of the controller is where your battery goes. Takes one AA battery and it just slips in there and closes up. Okay, so let's have a look at the mouse. Now the mouse is pretty much a standard mouse. It is larger than say what you're probably used to on PC or even other console mice that are out there. It is quite a large mouse. It's got a grip here where your fingers can actually grip it, so you can actually hold it, just in case you're playing with this on your knee and it doesn't slip down. On the side where your thumb goes, you've got X, circle, square, and triangle. And your thumb can either go here or it can go in the center, depending on where you prefer. You can easily reach all the buttons while your hand is right there as well. Alright. On the top, you've got your left and right click, which basically translates to R1 and R2. You've got a scroll wheel, which actually works as a scroll wheel if you've got it in like keyboard mode, like mouse mode, or you can just click it down, which will be R3. In the top here, you've also got a start button, right there. On the bottom, you've got your on and off switch. Again, turn it off when you're not using it to save battery, and you've got your battery compartment here, and it just takes one AA battery. Of course, in the center here, that's where your sensor is, so just make sure that's not obstructed with any dirt or anything, so it actually works to its fullest capacity. Alright, so let us go into special features now. Now we'll start with the actual customization features. So the first one we've got is stick swap. Now what stick swap does is actually swaps depending which one you're using for aiming. Now in traditional games, this will be your aiming, this will be walking or something like that. But as you know, some, especially military games, they might swap you into another vehicle or something like that, and then they reverse the aiming controls. So now this one's aiming and this one's walking or something. And it's really annoying, especially when you have something like this, because you don't want to use this for, you want to use this for aiming all the time, no matter what you're in, whether you're walking, in a vehicle, or whatever. That's why they designed stick swap, to be able to swap the aiming between this stick and the mouse. So you can swap them back and forth depending on what the game requires. So how you do that is there's a frag button at the top here, and you press select. When you press those two, you then press stick swap. Alright, that goes into stick swap mode. To finalize it, you press this again, and that will actually swap them. So now this will basically be aiming, and this will be the opposite way. Alright? And of course it depends on the game as well. Like if you just swap it for a general thing, then this would walk and this would be aiming, which would be kind of weird. But you could do it if you wanted that. But so it's a really handy feature in case you want to swap the aiming mechanism between each one. And of course you can just swap it back by doing the exact same thing. Next one is rapid fire. Now rapid fire basically allows you to press a button and have it press it multiple times basically in a rapid concession. So it's really good if you want to shoot or anything like that for certain weapons, especially automatic. To get into that again, frag button and select, you press rapid fire, and then you press the button that you want to trigger as rapid fire. So say I want it to be R1, which would be your left click. You press that once, and you finalize it, you press those two again, and that'll basically finalize as rapid fire. But if you wanted it to be a higher level of rapid fire, then you would click it again, and then press that to finalize. So depending on how many times you click it, depends on how many level of rapid fire you'll get. The next one, of course, is button remapping. And that's down here. So again, you press this, you press button remapping, and in that mode, now you can swap buttons. So say, for some reason, you wanted to swap these two buttons to be opposite functions, then all you do is click this one, and then click this one, and then click that again, those two, and then those two buttons will be swapped. You can do anything. So say you want some of these buttons down here, you want some of these ones up here, you can swap anything. You can just swap them around to whatever function you prefer. That way it's totally customizable to whatever game you're playing. If a game needs a certain arrangement, you can do it. You just have to spend a couple of moments just to swap some buttons around to get the right function. And of course, you can reset it in case you make a mistake or something you don't know what you've done. You can factory reset it if you do that. So it's pretty cool, very customizable. Next one, of course, is macro, and another customization option. Macro allows you to select a whole lot of buttons to be configured to one button in particular. So say, for instance, we wanted to configure all these buttons to the click, we could do that. You just go into the mode again, frag button and select, go into macro, click the button, and then basically press the other buttons that you want to assign to that macro. Now I think the limit is about 10 buttons, sequential buttons, so I think you can put about 10 in there. Once you've done your 10, you press this again to finalize it, and then when you click that, it will trigger all those 10 buttons. So again, really nice customizable option. You can do a lot of cool stuff with that, especially if you're in a game that you particularly want macros. It can be a very handy feature. Okay, so on to the next one. The next one, of course, is this dead zone wheel. You can see there. Now, what dead zone is the area around your cursor. So the actual cursor, if you have like a hard dead zone, for instance, like if you have a 9 or something, then you'll probably find your mouse will move very slowly or hardly at all. That means your sensitivity, your dead zone sensitivity, is actually too high. If you've got it too low, say a 1 or 0 or something like that, your mouse will just jump all over the screen because it won't know what to do with itself. It'll just kind of jump around. So then the manual, they recommend about 2 to 5. Now for games that I've played, I've found around 3 to be fairly good. But of course each game is different, so you may have to adjust it according to what game you're playing. And of course, if the game has an option menu that has sensitivity, then try to put that up to the maximum possible or close to, because that's going to give you basically the most aiming kind of flexibility, sensitivity possible, so that you can get the most accurate aiming out of your gameplay. So it's a pretty cool function now to actually have the wheel on the controller and easy to adjust on the fly. It's quite a cool feature that a lot of older SplitFish programs didn't have that, and you had to rely on either what it was preset to or what the game offered in the options menu. So another cool feature there. So just make sure you configure that before you play the game, so you get the maximum possible sensitivity and you get the nice form of movement that you're comfortable with. The next feature as well, which is a 6-axis feature. Basically, this Fragchuck has motion. Alright, so you can actually shake this and it'll detect it, but you have to program that motion to a command. So that's where the macro button comes into play as well. So again, you go back to your frag button and select, you press macro, you shake the controller, and then you want to press something to assign to that. Now, a good suggestion is, say, melee. Sometimes melee is like L3 or R3, should I say. So you can press that, or if it's whatever command it is, if you want to jump or something when you shake it, you can do that. So, and that way, once you programmed it, you press the button, you finalize it. When you shake the Fragchuck, it'll trigger that command. So it's a pretty cool function if you want to melee or you wanted to throw a grenade or something and you wanted to do that. That is perfectly optional. If you don't want to use it, you don't have to, but if you want it, it's there, and it's pretty cool if they added that, just an extra little special feature. Okay, so now that we've covered all the special features, how do you actually use it? How do you set it up? Well, connecting was like I mentioned before, you just plugged it in onto gamepad. You have this either on your desk or on your knee. You have your mouse on there, you hold this in your hand and you use it as your normal kind of half gamepad, and then to aim, you just move this around. And of course you trigger these buttons, and to fire you use these two, or you use the mouse wheel to press down. And of course starts on top, so it's easy to access the menus if you need to. Now the mouse mat is actually quite good, it's really soft in that, and this moves really smoothly on there. So it's really easy to have it on there, it won't get caught up or anything or hard to move on the surface. Really nice surface to work with. And of course this one is really easy to hold, it's pretty comfortable to hold, fits your hand quite nicely, and you can kind of reach all the commands you need to. Another nice feature they have with this is this grip here that I mentioned before, so you can hold it. And this is especially so that if you've got this on your knee, and say you have it as a bit of an angle, normally if you would leave the mouse and you didn't hold it, it would slide down. But because there's grip there and you're holding it like that, you can actually have a really good grip even if you've got it at a slight angle. So you can lean that against your knee, and then you can basically press this. So if you're in a living room or you're sitting down somewhere away from your TV in a chair or something, then absolutely you can put this on your knee or your lap or something and use it like that, no problem whatsoever. But if you prefer to have it on a surface, nice and flat, just like say a gaming PC, you can also do that. There's no problem with either of those ways. So it works just like basically a mouse on a PC game. You use this to aim, you use this to walk, and you fire, and it's really nice to use. It works really well in terms of your aiming. You can aim really accurately and everything like that. Basically, when I play this with any kind of shooter, any kind of third-person shooter, you can play with other games too, but some maybe like platformers probably wouldn't be too assigned for it. It wouldn't be too good, but you could still use it if you wanted to. But it works very well. Aiming is very accurate. I play with a couple of shooters. It worked really well. I could aim really easily, walk really easily with this one, hit all the other commands, grenade, jump, everything down here, really, really nice and easily. Worked like a charm. Basically, just worked like a charm. Very accurate, very easy to use. The only gripe I probably have about it in terms of like the aiming, is I found with a couple of shooters that I played on PS3, that when I was actually playing it, for some reason my cursor would occasionally go down, my crosshair would suddenly sort of go down a bit every now and again, and I'd be like, okay, why is it going down? I'd have to keep lifting my mouse up, and I think that just due to the fact that sometimes it drifts, even when you've got it on a surface, the mouse can sometimes drift, and because the PS3 is not really built for like a mouse, you have that issue where it sort of lowers your aim every now and again. It wasn't a hindrance or anything like that, but it was noticeable. I did notice it. I just corrected myself by pushing the aim up a bit though, and it seemed to be fine. So all the shooters I play with work really well, really easy to aim, much more accurate than a gamepad, as most of you know that a mouse is actually more accurate to use in terms of aiming than, say, using a joystick. So in terms of if you're a first-person shooter fan or anything, then a mouse controller for your console is ideal, especially if you're playing online, because this will give you much more accuracy. And like I said, the PS3 just picks it up as a gamepad, so you're not going to have a problem with it picking up that it's an issue or a band controller or something like that. It just picks it up as a gamepad. It just gives you a little bit more accuracy though, because you're aiming with a mouse. Okay, so let's move on to build quality. Now this one, build quality is a sort of a a touchy area, because in general SplitFish controllers aren't known for their build quality. Like if you've ever seen my video on my channel of the Edge FX for PS2, the quality of it was terrible. It was, the buttons would come out when you were playing. It was really terrible. I am glad to say though, since then, this one has, SplitFish has improved their quality greatly. They have greatly improved their build quality of their product. It is firm, it's got a nice surface on top. I haven't had the buttons come out at all, so that's a really good plus. They seem to be pretty solid. I haven't had any problems with them. It feels really nice. The only down point I can really say is it's really light. That's what lets it down. A heavier product sometimes feels a bit more better quality, and because this is so light, it doesn't feel like it's as good a quality as some of the competitors. But on the other side, this is where you come down to build quality versus special features. Whereas this one is slightly lower on the build quality mark in terms of the competitors. Like, I reckon if you were rough with this, you'd probably break it pretty easily. The special features on this outweigh pretty much any other competitors that are on the market in terms of this kind of combo, the mouse and Fragchuck combo. So in terms of that, the features kind of just blow away the competitors, because the competitors don't have the same sort of extra features of rapid fire, stick swap, macro, button remapping, everything like that. But the quality is a bit less. And the mouse is slightly bigger, so if you've got smaller hands and you don't like a huge mouse, you may not like this mouse particularly. Like, for me, I don't mind it. I found it quite comfortable to use and play with, but I do prefer some of the smaller mice that you can get on gaming PCs, and that's because I'm used to gaming on PCs. I prefer PC mice over it, but that's why I prefer playing with a mouse on a console, because I'm used to from PC. And by far, using any kind of mouse on PS3 to aim with, to play any kind of shooter, is by far absolutely way better than a gamepad. So if you have problem aiming with a joystick on a gamepad, then you need a mouse controller like this, because it'll make your aim so much better, and it'll be so much easier for you to play. So anyone that's looking to buy this, that's the big question you've got to look for. Do you want those extra special features, or would you like something with a little bit better build quality? Because for me, I find I lean towards the special features, because those special features, like I mentioned before, outweigh any of the competition. So if you want those extra features, like the stick swap, like rapid share, like button remapping, etc., then this is well worth the buy, because it's about the same price now as some of the competitors, and it's got all those extra features. Yes, the build quality is slightly lower than them, but it does the job it's intended for. It works well. It's really nice to play with. You can easily hold it. You can easily play with it for long hours. Doesn't make your hands sore or anything like that. No pain or anything like that. Really easy to play with. Really easy to connect. No issue with connecting or anything like that. Nothing fancy you need to do. You just plug it in, turn on each one with the on switches, and you're away. Battery time was brilliant. I played a full game. I think it was about a 15-hour game. I never had problems with battery, and I still had batteries for the second game I played. So on the box it said about 50 hours, which is believable. It's a very believable time that I would say that it could play quite easily. So overall, I think this is a very good controller. The only thing, like I say, the big thing that lets me down is the build quality, but the special features do outweigh it. I know some people complained about build quality in terms of when they got it shipped to them, they actually got broken on the thing, and that sometimes is normal for SplitFish. So if you're rough with the controller, you may have to rethink whether the special features are worth it in case this breaks. But absolutely, this is an awesome system, works really well, and I would easily recommend it to anyone that wants to play using a mouse on the PS3. So absolutely cool controller to use, very well made, and excellent special features by far. Now, this is the PS3 version. There is also a 360 version. I actually have the 360 version, and I will be doing another review for the 360, just to kind of for the 360 fans, in case you particularly want to see the 360 version. So if you're a 360 fan, keep an eye out for that. I will be doing a review on the 360 FragFX Shark. So thanks for watching, guys. That's about all I can say about this one. I'm Sharkie Gamer. Don't forget to check out my channel. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. Leave a comment down below if you feel like it. And if you like this video, then hit that like button. Really appreciate that. It helps out a lot. And thanks for watching, guys.